Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Wherever you are in the world today, I hope that you are doing great. Hope that all is pleasant for you. And most importantly, I hope that you are in good health. Once again, welcome to the Common Sense channel. On this channel, my friends, we get to talk about those things that people know, that people have thought about, but don't often have the time to discuss. These, my friends, are the things we discuss here on the Common Sense channel. So once again, welcome to the Common Sense channel. Today we want to talk about the charade, the game, and the stupidity that happened at the UN on human rights / reparation, or they call it the acknowledgement of slavery from the continent, specifically from the continent, because I'm not even going to include the plight of African American in this country, because that's the one I was hoping. I think if you are smart, some people are not this is what I do on my channel, because I can see all the games. If anything, UN, I'm talking to you because I think you're a joke. This is all political. I'm sorry if you're out there and you think the UN, what happened at that United Nation of jokers, if you think it's historical, you don't understand history. And I think not to insult you or anything, I think you need to wake up. These people are hijacking the plight of African American or black people in this country. I'm saying it because I can see it's a joke. If anything that United Nations wants to do this historical, that should have been the acknowledgement of African American black people, because I don't like to say African American, black people in this country, what they've been through. And you, Ghana, your president is a joke. That man is hijacking the plight of millions of black American or black people in this country. Let's look at history. Has it ever been any time in history since the founding of the United Nations? The United Nations will be 78 years old this year since its founding. Has there been a time? This would be from Marcus Garvey, before Marcus Garvey. Let's say historically now, before Marcus Garvey, all the way down to Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. There are others, Medgar Evers. You can't forget those unknown people they didn't talk about in history. All of the plight, all of the civil arrest or that was happening in this country, from Jim Crow to discrimination to segregation, all of the plight of the people, black people of this country. Not once in the history of that so-called organization called United Nations has they ever acknowledged that. So if you are Black American, you're out there. So you see the reason why they've never acknowledged you. And it's so simple. And I see our Sharpton would jump. He would jump on anything. I don't know, African American or black people. You need to find good leaders. Leaders that understand your history and leaders that can sympathize with your history. I know there's not many out there because the ones that are out here, they're lukewarm. But you never forget your history. I'm begging you not to ever forget your history. People like Al Sharpton and the rest of them. Al Sharpton is the one, he's everywhere. Anytime you see people like that everywhere, nothing good's come out because they are not representing your interests. I like to call Al Sharpton used to be on fire when I first came into this country. Not anymore. These people has hijacked the plight of African American or black people in this country. And that's what they're doing. All of that stuff they're doing at the UN, it's a joke. Let's look at history. Never in history, there's no way you can extrapolate the plight of African American or black people in this country from Africa. I've said it many times. And this also connected to the Caribbean. And if you're smart and you understand history, you know they never talk about the trans-Arabian slave trade. They never talk about the Europeans' slave trade. They only focus on the transatlantic slave trade. It was happening everywhere. It wasn't just happening across from the Atlantic Ocean to the Americas. No. So if you look at that, it's all political. If anyone should talk about human rights, not the United Nations, it's the reason why Donald Trump thinks the United Nations is a joke. Let me tell you, you can check this if you don't mind, because some of you, if you're doing your research, if you're looking for yourself, don't listen to people telling you. We're going to talk about Africa. Do your research. You see, all of the conventions, one of the most important, this is why women, children can be murdered. United Nations is not going to do anything. America is not going to do anything about it. Those European countries are not going to do anything about it. They're just going to blab, but nothing. Because in the UN Charter, there's convention on the rights of women and child. America, you can check this, has never ratified any of those charters or conventions. Never. They only acknowledge it, but never. That's why when I come on my channel, I look at these things. And let me break this to you, if you don't know. Human right is an illusion. Doesn't exist. You understand? Once in a while, they kind of talk about it, but just on the surface. Doesn't exist. As long there are resources on this planet, as long there are abundant of those resources on this planet, as long as there are people who want these resources because they have use for them, and this is not new, there will never be, you understand? There will never be the illusion or idea or notion of human rights. You understand? These people will only acknowledge these things when it fit their narrative. You understand? And let me tell you, I came on my channel, I think some months back, when all of the incident was happening in the Sahel region and in Africa, with Nigeria trying to go into the Sahel to start a war. And I mentioned the Ghanaian president, and I said he's a snake. He's not a Pan-Africanist. He's not. And I want to say this, any Sahel countries out there, you need to stop dealing with any of these African countries that speak English and French and in between. Stop dealing with them because they're sellout. They are sellout. That Ghanaian president, he's hijacking the plight of millions of black people in this country and millions of black people in the Caribbean and South America. You shouldn't forget about that. Okay, we're just talking about human rights. Let's talk about reparation. Africa knows that when you talk about reparation for Africa, that's a big deal. You can bankrupt the whole Western civilization on that. Are you going to just get it from the Europeans? Do you think the Europeans are going to sign up to that? The Europeans will bow down to anything as long as it's helping them survive. They would do that. They are like the liberal, Europeans are liberal. They are woke. You understand? That's what Europeans are. They talk on one side, and then when they go in closed door, they're on the other side. That's why they're lukewarm. Look at Europe. And there are dark days coming for Europe if they don't try to unite and stand on their own. They need to figure out a way to survive. That's all they need to do right now. I can see dark days coming for Europe. And no other better ways, as they've always done, is the cartel. They put up this bogus acknowledgement since the black people of this country started complaining from the great Malcolm X, took his case to the United Nations. What did it do? Nothing. Yes, Africa has been through a lot. Yes. But look, if you look at the continent right now, all the continent needs to do, it's so simple. I know, yes, there are so much, and that's the reason why I have issues with Pan-Africanism, because there's no reason why Africa cannot unite. There are no reasons. Why? You cannot talk about reparation Africa under any circumstances without talking about unity. Where is your brains, Africa? You're disgracing us, especially those of us that live in the diaspora. You make us look less when you do dumb stuff like that. You're hijacking the plight of millions of black people that lives in the diaspora, that was born here, that have their generational connection to the diaspora, especially in this country, in North America, in South America, in the Caribbean, wherever they are. In Europe, you disgrace us. This right now is all a sideline. At this moment, United Nations should not be talking about human rights, whether it's on the continent, whether it's in the past, now, in the future. No, they're not relevant. The world is burning. And they're going to talk about it. It's now. After 78 years of existence, is now they're talking about human right, a human right for black people, starting from Africa. And you see Ghana is the one, Ghanaians. When these Europeans look at you, most of them abstain from that whole vote because they know it's a joke. They see the United Nations as a joke. That's why I've always said that organization needs to be reformed. Right now, anything goes in there. It needs to be reformed. Right now, the world is almost at the brink of a nuclear catastrophe. The United Nations should not go to sleep any night. They should be up all night if they truly United Nations, trying to figure out ways how they can solve this problem. There are women, children, old people that are dying every day in the Middle East, whether it's in Gaza, Israel, or in Iran, or wherever in that place, in Kuwait, in the Gulf states. There are humans dying every day in Africa, in South America, North America, even in this country. And then you're going to sit there and talk about human rights and the treatment of slavery? We all know that. We all know that. We all know that. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. And this is what I think. You are a joke. If it took you 78 years to acknowledge an injustice, and you didn't even do it right, the Arab should not get away from what they done to Africa. The Europeans should not get away from what they done to Africa. Acknowledgement is a good step. But let me tell you what the issue of acknowledgement, in which you would never get any of these Europeans to acknowledge. You understand? Because when they do, especially the corporate ones, the ones that were heavily involved. Okay, let me digress a little bit. You didn't include religion too. Because the church, religion also was involved. It wasn't just the government. It wasn't just the country. Everywhere they went to conquer, to enslave, alongside of these people were organized religion. So they too must be included in that whole package, or charade, the one you were doing. But let me tell you this, they're not, all of the religion, organized religion that came out of Europe to spread their whatever, using whatever they use, force, brutality, cruel or inhumane tactics, behavior, method, whatever it is that they were using. You have to include them too. The Arabs can't get away with it. You see, the sayings of the father is what follows the generation after him. It's what's happening. All of these things that are happening in the world today has a connection to slavery. Understand? Whatever you do to another, someone will do to you. So you got to be careful on how you relate to people, how you treat others. It's called karma. It's a universal principle. It's the earth giving back to humanity. Whatever humanity gives back to the earth. We are the earth. Without us, this thing will not work. It's just going to be an empty place just like the rest of the planet. We are the ones that are moving this thing. So the earth has a way of giving back. So if you give good treats to the earth gives you back good treats. If you give it evil treats, give you back evil treats. It's a universal principle. You understand? By you acknowledging human rights, especially now, don't make no sense. I'm not trying to downgrade what these jokers, anything Africa leads, something is behind it. Because those brains, especially the one that was talking, the black African from Ghana, nothing against Ghana. Nothing against Ghana. Ghanaian people are excellent, great people. They are great thinkers in there. They are true Pan-Africanists in Ghana. But those ones that are leading whatever is coming out of Ghana, they're not right. But you have to see it. It's all distraction. The real thing that Africa should be working on is unity. But unity is not going to come that easy. Ask anyone that brings about unity. You can't talk your way out of that. No. Unity is just like freedom. Freedom is not free. To get it, You must go through a process. So when I look at the Middle East today, I see what's happening. It's a war of colonialism going on down there. Neo-colonialism too. And wherever colonialism goes, to gain back your freedom, you must fight for it. I've done videos where I say it's a war of independence for all of the nations in that area. If they don't stand up and fight, they are not gonna be free. And that's the truth. I think this whole world should just mind their business. America should stay out of people's business. We look forward to a day when we have a president, a government, not just a president, a leadership in this country that would just mind their business. That's what George Washington told the continental America when he handed over power to John Quincy Adams. He told him, America wants to be great. Isolate yourself. Be an isolationist. Stay away from global thing. Because he saw what France and Britain did during the American Revolutionary War. He saw. He was a visionary. A general who was a visionary, who was a patriot, who loved this country. And he saw that. And that was the great advice. America don't even need to be bothered by any of these countries. I'm telling you. America should be that power that has everything they want. And when they step in, like when America step into the picture, everybody comes around the table and says, what do you have to say? That's the kind of role that the Almighty has placed America to be. But along the line, you had those hijackers, just like they hijack the vision that God had placed in Jesus the Christ, Yeshua HaMashiach, for the world and humanity. And organized religion came along with a crafty, evil, sinister theme and behavior and attitude and hijack the entire teachings of Yeshua HaMashiach, aka Jesus Christ. This country was hijacked from the original foundation that the Almighty has placed this country. Even during George Washington time and the founding fathers, slavery was always on the lips of the people of this country. They were against it. There were people in this country, I'm telling you, whenever there are evil people, there are always good people. Just know that. Don't just think the whole world is going to be evil. No. Whenever there are evil people, whenever there are terrible human beings, there are always good people. You understand? Slavery had always been on the minds of Americans because they knew. So I say America's a project. They knew it was wrong. If anyone told you the founding fathers of this country never thought about that, that's a lie. You understand? But every now and then, when America tried to move away, slavery bring them back. You understand? So this is the story of this country. Can't run away from it. Like Bob Marley says, but you can run away from yourself. Can't run away from yourself. You have to address it. But to see Ghana, the staging place, because I live in Ghana. I went to school in Ghana. You understand? To see the staging place from where, I mean, you can go there, you see it. Most of these black people our ancestors came from as slaves. They cross over. To see them having a joke, making joke. Since you've been in the United Nations, Ghana, since you became a member of the United Nations, have you ever brought this up? Have you? Never. You understand? That's not Pan-Africanism. You're talking about things that if the Europeans and America acknowledge that, America is never going to acknowledge what is part of their history. They are even ashamed of talking about it in school. In the history book, not much is said. Because I went to school here. Not much is said about the atrocities of slavery, the evil of slavery. You can read. You understand? So human right and reparation, those two things are dangerous talk. The Europeans, America, and even the Arabs, they are going through their own stuff today. They are not going to acknowledge slavery. They are not going to accept reparation. Why? Because there are people on this planet, black scholars on this planet, including white too, and some Arabs, that have done their research and they have the receipt that they can hold these people accountable. There were banks, there were countries, there were religious denomination that were also part of this whole thing. It's called slavery. So imagine if the government acknowledged slavery. Think about it. Or even say sorry, because that's the first step of grief, to say sorry to someone who is grieving or someone who you've done wrong, to say I'm sorry. Even doing that makes them responsible. And then anyone with a law degree out there can bring charges against them. They don't want to. And they know that. You understand? So, but when you come together, this is for Africa. When you come together, this is for Africa. When you come together, this is for Africa. Which is what I've been saying here. When I did that video, I think yesterday or day before yesterday, I was talking and then the ancestor said, hey, speak on this. I threw that in there. Someone watching that video said, well, why you throw this in here? Because when I do my videos, I'm not doing them by myself. I'm being moved to do this. So I can be talking and then I say something profound. You understand? But in order for Africa to connect with the Caribbean, to connect with South America, where there are black people that looks like you, Africa. Not all of them think they are. And I agree with them 100% because I'm not, when I look at Pan-Africanism, those are the flaws that I see. It's on all level. But in order for you to represent the black world, because black people are everywhere on this planet, they are dispersed, segmented, scattered all over the world. But in order for you to represent Africa, black people, you must unite. Of all the European people, I like Europe. I love Europe. I've never been there, but I love Europe because they give us modern day civilization, but they haven't been able to perfect all of the good things that they say they brought. But you see, the Irish people, there's a famous movie called Braveheart. I love Braveheart. I think Mel Gibson is one of the brilliant director. I mean, you can say whatever you want to say about Mel Gibson, but Mel Gibson does incredible movies. Braveheart is one of them. Braveheart is called Braveheart. If you watch that movie, you see the plight of the Irish people dating way back to when they were under colonialism by England. The only thing that kept them from uniting was disagreement among themselves. And that came into modern day world from medieval time all the way until one day they decided to come together after fighting. Their freedom didn't just come easily like that. The Irish people, I consider Irish people one of the greatest people. We had England in our country as a colonizer, but between the Irish and the British, it's a huge difference. Some of their words they use, the Irish, made its way into our local language. You understand the way they talk? Some of the slogans, the slangs, made its way into, I can say some of them here. But they're a better human being. You know why? Because the Irish, they practice their religion, Catholicism. They try to be better at it. That's why I don't lump all Catholics. I don't just say Catholics. They have their flaws, yes. But they try to live by key principles in their religious denomination. And they do good. But these other ones over here, these are the money-making ones. You know them. They're no example. You see a Catholic person on the street standing up for injustice, civil rights, for all. You see that. That's why Ireland will never support anything that has to do with injustice. Their history has always been that way. That's the reason why I acknowledge and love the Irish people, because they always stand on the side of truth, because their history was not given to them easily. Their freedom was not given to them. We know they were fighting up to the 90s for independence and acknowledgement. You understand? So Africa, you have to learn from the Irish people. I always refer you to the Chinese.